2 red flags to watch out for when you're hiring a book editor. Hi, I'm Nico Bell. I write scary stories and I'm an editor. Hopefully I don't have these 2 red flags, but I have run across editors who do, so let's talk about them. The first is that they're way too subjective. They give their opinions way too much. It's a common myth to think that you're hiring an editor for their opinion. You're not. You're hiring them for their expertise. Your feedback should be detailed and it should be organized in such a way that it is clear that the editor is following an objective rubric of some type. Meaning that if there's a problem with the plot and they don't like it, they have to provide some sort of objective reason for it, some sort of developmental reason, something about character development or lack of stakes, something that is actually a pillar to storytelling, as opposed to being rooted in simply not liking where the story is going or what the characters are like. If an editor does give their personal opinion, it should be very clear that it is an opinion, not something more objective. They should say, this is just my opinion, or check with your beta readers because some readers may do this and some readers may think this. Something that shows that there's some sort of subjectiveness that they're concerned about. But largely, any sort of edits you get back should be based on the pillars of storytelling, which are objective across the genres. Which leads me to number 2, which is competency. I have said this before plenty of times that you do not need to have a formal education to be a writer. And I also think you don't need to have a formal education to be an editor. There are tons of indie authors offering editing services that I would willingly, happily pay to look at my manuscript because I trust them and their feedback. There are also plenty that, frankly, I would not. Editing and writing are 2 completely different skill sets. They seem like they're not, but they really are. So just because somebody's an incredible writer doesn't mean they're going to be an incredible editor or vice versa. The best way to tell is to, 1, read their work. So if you're working with somebody that doesn't have any formal training in editing, read their work, especially if they're self-published, because however they're formatting and they're editing their work is probably how they're going to do yours as well. And also, ask for a sample. They can either give you a sample of a client that they've already done with the client's permission, or ask for a sample in which usually editors will take the first 500,000 words of your story or wherever in the story you want to send them, and they'll do it for free and you can see how that editing plays out. Or you can work something out where you're like, I want to just do the first chapter and see how it goes, and then the editor will be like, okay, here's my price for just the first chapter, and you can do that as well. But I would definitely recommend having some sort of sample if you've never worked with somebody and you've never seen what they're editing. Even if somebody has formal education, asking for a sample is something you are 100% allowed to do, and every editor should be accommodating of that in some way, even if they charge, which depending on how much of the sample you want, they may, because it is their time. But if it's something like 500 words, that's usually something that they'll do for free.